Today we're talking about a topic that is not only timely, but it can be very tense: supplier diversity. In a post-2020 world, a lot of businesses faced a lot of pressure and scrutiny to ensure that they are imbuing diversity, equity, inclusion at all levels of business. And now in the modern day and age, the tables have kind of turned and a lot of people are facing pressure to start to walk those back. But here's what I want to offer. Supplier diversity is not just good optics, it's good strategy. And I want to share a little bit more about the data, some ideas, and reinvigorate us to not only what we believe in and value as human beings, but things that are going to be really good business, and share some ideas about practically how we can continue to do this work with intention. This conversation is more important now than ever. DEI initiatives are being reevaluated and sometimes abandoned altogether here in 2025 because of so much of the political pushback. And meanwhile, luxury consumers are watching. A 2024 McKinsey study found that half of global luxury clients say that sustainability and ethical sourcing are extremely important, and they expect brands to reflect their personal values. In a market where differentiation is everything, integrity and intentionality are the real luxury. A lot of the buying power has been shifting over the years into millennial hands and now into Gen Z's hands. So resonating with these consumers and caring about what they care about is essential for business. And a lot of our business leaders right now also fall into these generations. And so there's a lot of personal drive to ensure that the businesses that we work for, contribute to, and buy into are holding similar values as we do. This isn't about profiting off of people's identities, but creating space for these different individuals to be able to thrive, and for our supplier diversity chain to accurately reflect the exact buyers that we are trying to serve. This is about making sure that our businesses are reflective on the inside as who is buying into them on the outside. It's being a good person and it's being a good business leader. There is a strong business case for supplier diversity. The same 2024 McKinsey study that I mentioned earlier states that companies with greater racial and ethnic diversity are 36% more likely to outperform on profitability. Now, to me, this isn't a mystery of why. As I was mentioning earlier, we're trying to resonate with a diverse group of people. And so when we have the minds on the inside who have lived through similar experiences, we're able to connect and resonate in a unique way that wouldn't be possible if it's a group of people who just simply haven't had the same experiences. A supplier ecosystem that includes equity deserving groups. So we're thinking about BIPOC people, the LGBTQ plus community. We're talking about women-owned businesses. This brings fresh perspectives that translate into brand relevance and product resonance. In luxury, storytelling is absolutely everything. And so diverse partners who bring the stories that make your offering feel relevant and not manufactured are who are going to create this level of increased profitability. A second note on the business case for supplier diversity is that inclusive supply chains deepen customer trust. Bain's research shows that trust and emotional connection are the #1 driver of brand loyalty in 2025. Inclusion isn't just an HR or PR matter, it's a lens for decision making across your entire brand ecosystem. So when your suppliers reflect the people that you serve, your products and your services become more intuitive, more human, and more honest. A third point when you're making a business case here is that diverse suppliers de-risk your brand. In a climate of labor right investigations and sustainability concerns, supply chain transparency has become a non-negotiable for brand reputation. And working with vetted, diverse suppliers often strengthens your auditability, your traceability, and your ESG compliance, protecting your brand from backlash and future-proofing against regulatory change. Although we find ourselves in a current political climate which may not heavily prioritize and value diversity across the supply chain, we never know when that's going to change. And this also doesn't reflect consumer sentiment necessarily. So when thinking about your brand and your business and the risk that you're exposing it to, not only in policies and regulations, but also the reputation that you're having with your consumers, which oftentimes takes years and years and generations to build, this matter is essential to come in from a strategic place and from a very human place. So what does this look like in practice? First of all, this isn't just about checking a box. We don't want to be working with diverse suppliers just for optics. It's about integrating values-driven and highly competent partners across your ecosystem, from packaging to retail design to strategic consulting. I find that a lot of supplier diversity initiatives focus a lot on the manufacturing and delivery of a product, but we're missing a lot of that same intentionality when we think about how we share that product with the world. So thinking about our brand strategy and our advertising as well, which I would argue is just as, if not more important, when we're thinking about the customer psychographics that we're trying to serve and the diversity in those customer segments, and thinking about in-house, in our creative teams, in our strategy teams, in our operational teams, is this well reflected, especially as we move higher and higher up the corporate ladder to the people who get the final say on these decisions. I'm sure that in your corporation, you won't be hard pressed to find a diverse group of minds and thoughts in the lower level execution of this work, but really critically analyze your leadership and your senior leadership teams, because these are the people who often do the big visioning and make the final decisions. Is this reflective of the psychographics of your customer base? Do these people have similar lived experiences, and do you have good representation across your boards and across your decision makers to be able to bring these different perspectives to the table? It can be a really tough conversation to have, but I think that it'll be well worth it in terms of meeting your business goals and your KPIs for the year, and also in terms of just being able to go to sleep at night and feeling like you've been doing good work and that you're contributing positively to this current society that we're living in. A second consideration when you're looking at this practically is going deeper than tier one. I've seen some brands that are doing a great job of this, but it's always a good reminder. Consider not just your direct suppliers, but also their networks. Who are your architects hiring? Who prints your brand books? Who produces your custom fixtures? It's so awesome if you're able to go through all the tiers of your diversity chains and think about if you're reinvesting and economically empowering different groups throughout. And the best way to do this is by hiring tier one suppliers who value this as well. So hiring a design consultant who you know cares about this work really genuinely and who themselves is trying to get a little bit more diversity in their supplier chain and is looking specifically to empower groups that we might not always be looking within for talent, to make sure that our teams really reflect the demographics and the psychographics of the country that we live in well. A third consideration is to look beyond cost into value. Diverse suppliers often offer agility and creativity and a deep understanding of underserved markets. These are not marginal partners, they're market expanding ones. Oftentimes it might take a little bit more lift, a little bit more negotiation and work on the corporate buyer's end to be able to work with a diverse supplier. This is simply because, due to the way that our society has gone so far and all the systemic things that have happened, oftentimes the big businesses that have been giving these opportunities in the past are not diverse. They're not diversely led and they're not diversely owned. So we can find ourselves in situations where the entire system, from the way that we build our contracts to our payment terms, are not conducive for having diverse suppliers. Thinking about, hey, if our brand's payment terms are net 90, is a small business and a small woman-owned or Black-owned or queer-owned business going to be able to withstand hiring any contractors or just putting in the work or fronting the bill for 3 entire months before they see their first paycheck be processed by us? You know, it's things like that that create roadblocks and that we need to be willing to be a little bit flexible with in order to get these returns on our investment into these equity deserving groups. And as we think about all these operational logistics, we need to reframe inclusion as brand alignment. Your luxury clients want intentionality, not just exclusivity. Working with diverse suppliers should feel like it's in alignment and like an extension of your brand and not a separate initiative. Thinking deeply about where we're headed, we're in an era of conscious luxury where brands have to do a lot more than just virtue signal. They have to operationalize what they're saying. So going past the faces of the models that you put on your ads and the one token leader that you put in front in big stages, and really thinking about all of your operations from the bottom all the way to the tippy top and making sure that this is really reflective of the values that you're touting online. As supply chains get smarter, as media gets bigger, sourcing gets more strategic. And this includes exactly who you're sourcing from. Inclusion in the supply chain is not just charity, it's strategy. It's a way of staying relevant, it's a way of earning loyalty and building cultural capital. This is a great way of future-proofing your business as consumers become more savvy and as they get more and more access to this information through social media, and as people feel more fired up and fueled up to stand for what their values are, and people are very willing to change and move their purchasing power to be in alignment with what their personal values are. So to conclude, supplier diversity is not different from your brand strategy. It is, and it should be, a deep intrinsic part of your brand strategy. Because in luxury, where perception is everything, who you work with, who you build with behind the scenes is just as important as what you put on the runway, in the showroom, on the shelves. So the question isn't whether supplier diversity is worth it. The question is whether you're willing to build a brand that lasts and a brand that resonates. My name is Tosin, and thank you for being willing to think about this with me and hear out what I'm sharing today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments or in direct messages or on a call if this is something that interests you and something that you care about. We like to share content that educates and inspires here on this channel and across all of our social and web platforms. And so we invite you to be a part and to subscribe and to opt in to everything that we're building. I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful day. Take good care. All my best.